All right, good morning. We are beginning today with the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, Skandha 3, chapter 28. Janamejaya said, O Muni, how did Ramachandra celebrate the Devi's puja that leads to happiness? Who was he and how was his Sita stolen away? How was he deprived of his kingdom? Please satisfy me by narrating all these incidents to me. So, of course, Janamejaya has some idea of who he was, but is just asking for the full context to be provided because he wasn't familiar with the Devi Puja part of it. Vyasa said, O Raja, there lived in days of yore in the city of Ayodhya a prosperous Raja of the Suryavansha dynasty. Oh, Andy, you're not getting audio? Anne, are you getting audio? You should be. Okay, all right. Got it. There lived in days of yore in the city of Ayodhya a prosperous Raja of the Suryavansha dynasty named Dasharatha. He always worshipped the Devas and Brahmanas. He had 4 celebrated sons, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna. These 4 sons were equally learned and beautiful, and they always did actions agreeable to the Raja. Of these, Ramachandra was the son of the queen Kaushalya, Bharata was the son of the queen Kaikeyi, and the good-looking Lakshmana and Shatrughna were the twin sons of the queen Sumitra. While young, they learned the art of archery and began to play with bows and arrows in their hands. Thus educated and purified, the 4 sons began to give delight more and more to the Raja. One day, the Maharshi Vishvamitra came to Ayodhya and asked from the Raja Dasharatha the help of his son Ramachandra for the protection of his yajna ceremonies. The Raja could not cancel Vishvamitra's request and sent with him Rama accompanied by Lakshmana. The lovely Rama and Lakshmana accompanied the Muni on his way back to his ashram. There lived a terrible-looking Rakshasi named Tadaka in a forest on their way, who used to give great troubles to the ascetics, and Rama killed her with only 1 arrow. Next, he killed Subahu, another demon, and shot arrows at another night wanderer, Maricha, and made him senseless, almost dead, and threw him at a great distance, and thus saved Vishvamitra from all the obstacles troubling him in his sacrificial ceremonies, since those demons, particularly Subahu and Maricha, had been harassing the ceremonies. This, you might recognize that we were just hearing a story about someone of the name Subahu, Raja of Kashi. No relation whatsoever, complete coincidence that he and this random forest demon have the same name. Thus fulfilling the great work protecting the yajna ceremonies, Rama, Lakshmana, and the Muni Kaushika, these 3 started for the kingdom of Mithila. So Kaushika is another name of the sage Vishvamitra. Kaushika refers to his family lineage. On his way, Ramachandra rescued Ahalya from the curse that she was suffering from. This is kind of briefly skipping over a lot of incidents from the Ramayana. At last, the 2 brothers, accompanied by the Muni, reached the city Videhanagara. Just at that time, the Raja Janaka, there's actually an error here. It says the Raja Janaka of Ayodhya, but this is a mistake. The Raja Janaka of Videha, where they have just gone, made a vow to give in marriage Sita to anybody who would be able to break the bow of Shiva. Rama broke that bow into 2 and married Sita, born of Lakshmi's Ansha, or in other words, she was an avatar of Lakshmi. The Raja Janaka gave in marriage to Lakshmana his own daughter Urmila. The good and auspicious Bharata and Shatrughna married respectively Mandavi and Srutakirti, the 2 daughters of Kushadhvaja. O Raja, thus in the great city of Mithila, the 4 brothers performed their marriage ceremonies according to the prescribed rules and rites. The Raja Dasharatha Then, seeing Rama well qualified to take charge of the kingdom, proposed to install him on the throne of Ayodhya. The queen Kaikeyi, seeing that various articles were being collected for the installation of Rama, asked for the 2 boons promised before from her husband Dasharatha, who was completely under her control. The first request was her own son Bharata's becoming the Raja of Ayodhya instead of Rama. And the second request was the banishing of Rama to the forest for 14 years. Thus Ramachandra went, accompanied by Sita and Lakshmana, to the Dandaka forest frequented by the Rakshasas. The high-souled Raja Dasharatha felt very much bereavement at separation of his son, remembered the curse given to him by Antaka Muni, and left his mortal coil. Bharata, seeing that his father died solely on account of his mother, in other words, he died of heartbreak over the banishing of Rama, and so Bharata blamed his own mother Kaikeyi for it, since that was done on her demand, refrained from becoming the Raja of Ayodhya. He refused to take the throne, the prosperous city, and went at the welfare of his brother Rama. Ramachandra, in accordance with his father's instruction, went to the forest Panchavati. One day, the youngest, so Panchavati is within the greater forest. So earlier we said the forest of Dandaka, the Dandakaranya forest. That's a huge, huge forest covering what's now like multiple states of India. So Panchavati is a certain region within it. One day, the youngest sister of Ravana, named Surpanakha, became very passionate and came to Rama, whereupon Ramachandra disfigured her by cutting off her nose and ears. So that requires, I think, a little bit more explanation than this sage who is skipping across these incidents in form of summary. The reason they disfigured her by cutting off her nose and ears, it was actually Lakshmana and not Ramachandra himself who did that, was because she tried to kill Sita. They attacked Shurpanakha in defense of Sita. She was leaping on Sita and trying to eat her face off. She outright declared this as her intention. So that is why they ended up maiming her and driving her away. Seeing her nose thus cut away, the Rakshasas Kara, Dushana, and others fought very hard against the powerful Ramachandra. The truly powerful Rama killed Kara, Dushana, and all the other powerful Rakshasas for the welfare of the Munis, because they were harassing the Munis who lived in various forest ashrams within the Dandakaranya jungle. Then Shurpanakha went to Lanka and informed Ravana of her nose having been cut and of the death of Kara, Dushana, and others. The wicked and malignant Ravana, hearing of their death, became filled with anger, and mounting on a chariot, quickly went to the forest. We have an error in the text here. The forest of Maricha. There's no forest of Maricha. He went to the forest with Maricha. Maricha, the very demon who earlier Rama had wounded in defense of Vishwamitra's yajna, but he survived. That Maricha accompanied Ravana to the forest. Ravana expressed his desire to take away Sita, so ordered that magician Maricha to assume the form of a golden deer and to go to Rama and entice him away. The magician Maricha assumed the form of a golden deer and entered the site of Janaki. Janaki is another name of Sita. Then that variously spotted deer began to move about near the Sita Devi. Looking at the beautiful golden splendor of the body of that golden deer, Sita Devi, prompted as it were by the great fate, spoke to Ramachandra, like other independent women, "O Lord, bring me the skin of the deer." Rama too, not judging at all, as if it was the work of destiny, asked Lakshmana to remain there and protect Sita while he took hold of his bow and arrows and went after the deer. Highly skilled in magic, the deer, seeing Hari in the shape of Rama, sometimes within his sight and sometimes not within his sight. In other words, sort of rushing from thicket to thicket through the forest, and traveled from one forest to another, leading Rama as far away as he could. When Rama saw that he had come very far away from his place of residence, he became angry and drew his bow and shot sharp arrows at that deer, the transformed Rakshasa Maricha. The deceitful conjurer Rakshasa, being thus shot violently and intensely pained, cried out, "O brother Lakshmana, I am killed," and breathed his last. This loud, awful cry reached Janaki's ears. She took that voice for Rama's voice, and told to Lakshmana in a grieved tone, "Lakshmana, go quickly. I fear Rama is killed. Hear the voice. He is calling you to go to his aid." Lakshmana then replied, "Mother, you are alone." And of course, Sita is not his mother, but he is respectfully addressing her as mother, in keeping with their cultural terms of address. "You are alone in this forest, therefore I cannot leave you thus, even if Ramachandra be killed. O daughter of Janaka, Rama has ordered me to remain here. Now, if I leave you and go elsewhere, then I will be charged with having disobeyed his order. Fearing that, I am unable to leave this place. It seems to me, moreover, that some magician has carried Rama away from here, or led him away from here. I am therefore unable to move a step from here and leave you alone. Hold patience, let me consider. I find no such man as can kill Rama. I am unable to leave you by any means alone here and go away, disobeying Rama's orders." Vyasa said, "O Raja, then the young wife of Rama, having handsome teeth, began to cry aloud fearfully, as if made to do so by destiny, and uttered cruel words to the pure Lakshmana. She said, "O son of Sumitra, I know why you are so much attached towards me. I know very well that you have been sent here by Bharata to accompany us simply to obtain me. O vile Kshatriya skilled in magic, I am not that sort of woman acting into my wanton will. Never will I accept you of my will as my husband, even if Sri Ramachandra be dead. If Sri Ramachandra does not return, I will certainly commit suicide. Without him, I would be very much grieved and afflicted with sorrows, and I would not be able to hold on to my life. O Saumitri, whether you remain here or do not, I won't request anything more of you, for I am quite unaware of your mind. But this much I would like to say to you: where has your intimacy towards your religious elder brother now gone?" Again, as all of these stories are told in greater detail in the Ramayana, Sita did not for a moment actually suspect any such things of Lakshmana, but she was utterly panicked and terrified, having heard her husband crying in fear of his life out in the forest, and was just wildly and desperately saying anything she could to try to get Lakshmana to go to his aid. And succeeded. Hearing thus the Sita Devi's words, Lakshmana became exceedingly sorry, and being suffocated with heaving sighs on account of the internal pain, told Sita, "O one born from without any womb," which is true, she was dug out of the earth, "why are you uttering such cruel and malignant words? I clearly see when you are speaking such unworthy words that some great evil is sure to befall you very soon." O Raja, thus saying, the spirited Lakshmana left Sita and went out, weeping heavily, and being very much afflicted with grief, traced the footsteps of his elder brother, and went on in search of him. When Lakshmana thus departed, Ravana entered the hermitage in the guise of a deceitful bhikshu wearing a red garb, a sagely beggar. Janaki took that villain Ravana to be a yogi and respectively gave him offerings of worship and forest fruits. That villain asked Sita humbly in a gentle tone, "O beautiful one, your eyes are beautiful like the palasa lotus leaves. Therefore it seems that you are not an ordinary woman. How is it that you are here thus alone in a wild forest? O fair one, who is your father, who is your brother, and who is your husband? Being such a beautiful one, how is it that you are in this forest here like an ordinary woman, dumbfounded? O good-looking one, you are worthy to live in a palace filled with nectar. Why are you living in this hovel, in this wild forest, like an ordinary Muni's wife, and your beauty is shining in lustrous beams like a Devi girl?" Vyasa said, "The daughter of Janaki, hearing the words of Ravana, the husband of Mandodari, unfortunately took him to be a good yogi and replied in the following way. Perhaps you have heard that a prosperous Raja Dasharatha is reigning in the city of Ayodhya. He has 4 sons. The eldest of these, Sri Ramachandra, is my husband. The Raja offered 2 boons to his queen Kaikeyi, due to which Ramachandra has been exiled in this forest with his brother Lakshmana. I am the daughter of the Raja Janaka. My name is Sita. Ramachandra has broken the bow of Shiva and has married me. Resting under his prowess of arms, I am resting here fearlessly in this wild forest. Seeing a golden deer, he has gone out to kill it for me. Lakshmana, too, hearing his voice, has gone just now. O Yogi, I am living here depending on the strength of these 2 brothers. Thus I have told you all about our living in this forest. Shortly they will come home and worship you duly. The man who has controlled his passions and has become a yogi is like Vishnu incarnate. Therefore I have worshipped you. O yogi, our ashram is in the midst of this terrible forest surrounded by Rakshasas. Therefore I am asking you, how is it that you have been able to come here in this dress of Tridandi, the garb of a sannyasa yogi? Please speak in the name of truth before me. Ravana said, O askance-looking one, I am the Raja of Lanka, the husband of Mandodari. O beautiful one, it is for you that I have put on this dress of Yati. O beautiful one, my two brothers Kara and Dushana have been killed in this forest, and being urged by my sister, I have come here. Now leave this, your man-husband, residing in the forest as a pauper, devoid of fortune and wealth, and worship me as your husband. O fair one, I am Ravana, the king of kings. You now become my lord. O daughter of Janaka, I am the lord of the regions of the quarters, and yet I bow my head down to your lotus feet. You had better accept me and fulfill my desires today. Formerly I asked you from your father, the Raja Janaka, but he then said that he had a pledge. Whoever will break the bow of Shiva will marry my daughter. The Bhagavan Rudra is my guru, hence I feared to break his bow, and therefore I was not present at your Swayamvara. But from that time my mind has always been thinking of you, and is in a state of bereavement for you. O beautiful one, hearing now that you are residing in this forest, I, impelled by my previous fascination for you, have now come hither, and you had better now crown my labor with success. Thus ends the 28th chapter on the incidents connected with the Navaratri, and the description of Ramayanam in Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa in the 3rd Adhyaya. Chapter 29. Vyasa said, hearing these vicious words, Janaki became very much confounded with fear and began to tremble. Somehow collecting herself, she began to say, O descendant of the family of Pulastya, why are you, prompted by lust, uttering these sinful words? I am born of the family of Janaka, therefore I cannot act wantonly according to my own inclination. O ten-faced one, better you go back to Lanka quickly, else Ramachandra will take away your life. You will no doubt incur death for my sake. Thus saying, Sita Devi went towards the sacred fire called the Garhapatya, placed in the house, meaning the household fire in their hut. With words, go away, in her mouth. He whose wickedness has caused all the lokas to cry out, save us, save us. The same Ravana, of perverted intellect, then assumed his real form, went towards the hut, and caught hold of Sita Devi, who was crying, bewildered with fear. Sita cried, Rama, Rama, Lakshmana, and the sinful Ravana caught hold of her, and quickly mounting her on his chariot, fast got away. On the way, Jatayu, the son of Aruna, met Ravana, and a terrible fight then ensued between the two, since Jatayu was attempting to rescue Sita. Jatayu is a Suparna, a bird deity. So he attempted to rescue Sita, attacked Ravan, and a terrible fight then ensued between the two, in which the evil-minded Ravana, the king of the demons, killed Jatayu. Ravana carried Sita to Lanka. Then Sita cried like a forlorn deer, and Ravana kept her in the Ashoka forest in Lanka, surrounded and guarded by the Rakshasis, demon women. The king of Lanka tempted Sita with comforting words and the offer of all the pleasures of his kingdom, but she never swerved from her own pure and stainless chastity. Incidentally, where she was kept in the Ashoka forest in Lanka, in Sri Lanka today, they claim to know the spot where she was kept. I actually went there. It's been reclaimed as a site of worship of Sita. The people of Sri Lanka today built a temple of Sita on the spot where she was kept imprisoned. And it's now a whole site dedicated to her worship. It's a really beautiful temple. It's still in an Ashoka forest. The ancient Ashoka grove is still there. There's Ashoka trees growing all up the hills behind it. It's a really beautiful spot by a river. Back in the forest of Dandakaranya, Ramachandra, after killing the deer and taking it, was coming back calmly. When he saw Lakshmana going to him and saying, he said, "Oh, Lakshmana, what a great blunder you have committed. Hearing the voice of that villain conjurer, how is it that you have left my dear Sita alone and come here?" Lakshmana said, "O Lord, being pierced sharply by Sita Devi's words and being driven away by her, under the guidance of the inevitable destiny, as it were, I have come here. There was no doubt in this." They then both hurriedly went back to their hut made of leaves, and there not finding Sita, they were very much afflicted with sorrows and went in quest of Janaki. Rama and Lakshmana in their search for Sita came at last to the spot where Jatayu, the king of birds, was lying on the surface of the earth, with his life ultimately on the point of parting away from his body, since he was mortally wounded by Ravana, but had been lying there bleeding and clinging to life. Jatayu said, "Ravana, the Raja of Lanka, carried away today by theft Sita Devi. I resisted that villain, who then fought with me on that account and threw me down on the spot by his weapons." Thus saying, the king of birds died, whereupon Ramachandra performed the burning of his dead body as well as his funeral ceremonies. Then both of them went on from that place. Then the Lord Ramachandra killed Kabandha and freed him from his curse, another demon, and through his advice, he made friendship with Sugriva, the Raja of the Vanaras, or the monkey people of Dandakaranya and Kishkindha, and was thus bound under a tie of friendship. Next, Rama killed the hero Bali as a duty and gave the excellent kingdom of Kishkindha to his new friend Sugriva, according to his promise. Again, we are briefly summarizing things that are very long and involved stories in the Ramayana. Then Rama began to ceaselessly think of the stealing away of Sita by Ravana, and passed away the 4 months of the rainy season there with his brother Lakshmana, during which travel was impossible due to the land being flooded in all directions. Rama, being very much shaken on account of the bereavement of Sita, began to address Lakshmana thus: "O Saumitre, the desires of the daughter of the Raja of Kekaya are now fulfilled. Janaki will no more be obtained. Without Janaki, I will not go back to Ayodhya. Without Janaki, I won't be able to live any longer. Kingdom lost, dwelling in forests. Our father left his body. At last my dear wife is lost. The cruel hands of destiny are tormenting me now thus. What more will it inflict? How can I say now? O brother Lakshmana, what is to happen is very hard to be known beforehand by men. I cannot say what is written on my fate after this, painful or otherwise. See, both of us, the descendants of Manu, though born in a royal family, are exiled in forests due to our past deeds. O Lakshmana, it is by fate, too, that you, abandoning the pleasures of the royal surroundings, have come out here with me, and you too are now suffering heaps of dire troubles with me. No one in our family has suffered so much as we are suffering. Why talk of our family? No human being was ever born or will ever take his birth that suffered or will suffer like me through so many troubles, will be like me incapacitated and a penniless pauper. O Saumitre, I am drowned in the ocean of pains and troubles. What am I to do now? I have no means to cross this ocean. I am quite helpless, no doubt. No money nor armies. O hero, you are my one and only companion. O brother, on whom shall I be angry when I am suffering on account of my own deeds? Alas, the kingdom that could have been compared in prosperity to the Indra Sabha was almost obtained by me when in an instant I lost it and am now in exile in the forest. Lakshmana, who can ascertain what is in the womb of destiny? Oh, that soft-bodied Sita, with her childlike nature, came out with us in this forest. So he's mentioning soft-bodied as in that the hardships of forest life would be very hard to bear for her. And indeed, she suffered intensely and had a very difficult time living in the forest with them. Though, of course, she stuck to her choice. She gladly accepted that rather than be parted from Rama, who she loved. But the inexorable fate has now drowned her, that perfectly beautiful woman, into an ocean of sorrows difficult to be crossed. That fair daughter of Janaka is extremely devoted to me. She is pure and holy. How will she be ever able to suffer troubles in the house of the Raja of Lanka? O Lakshmana, Sita Devi will never come under the control of Ravana. How can that excellent chaste woman act like an ordinary public woman? O Lakshmana, rest assured that in case Ravana exercises out of his lordly position any violence on Sita, she will rather put an end to her life than come under his control. O Lakshmana, and when Janaki sacrifices her life, I will assuredly do the same. For what use then is this body to me when that fair Sita has gone away with her life? While the lotus-eyed Ramachandra was thus weeping and expressing his regrets and sorrows, the Dharmak Lakshmana consoled him with the following sweet and truthful words. O hero of heroes, kindly cast aside this weakness and have patience. I will soon kill that villainous demon Ravana and get you back your Sita Devi. The wise and steady persons remain on account of their fortitude unshaken in their hearts, whether in joy or in sorrow, whereas men of little intellect indulge in sorrows when they are happy. Coming in union and going out in disunion, both are under the hands of destiny. What then is the need for expressing sorrows for this body, which is not the self? As we have been banished from our kingdom into this forest, as there has happened this bereavement of Sita, so in proper time we will again get back Sita Devi. O beloved of Janaki, there must come a time when sorrows will be converted into happiness and vice versa. It will not be otherwise. So avoid this sorrow now and have firmness. There are multitudes of Vanaras who are our helping hands. They will go to all the four quarters and bring to us the news of the daughter of Janaka. There is no doubt in this. O Lord, learning the way to Lanka, we will go there and kill by our prowess the villainous Ravana and bring back Sita Devi. Or we will call Bharata and Shatrugna, and with all the armies of Kosala, we all united will kill our enemy. Why then are you thus expressing sorrows in vain? O Lord, our ancestor Raghu, hero of heroes, the monarch, won his victories over the 10 quarters, and you belong to that family, and are now plunged in grief? Alone I can defeat all the Devas and the Asuras, and if I get help, is there any doubt then in my killing that Ravana, the disgrace of the family of Rakshasas? O powerful one, we may call to our aid the Raja of Janaka, and root out that wicked source of enmity to the Devas. O descendant of Raghu, like the rim of a wheel, happiness and pain come alternately. It is not that happiness or pain comes and remains forever. He whose mind is very much overwhelmed with pain or happiness is the man who is always plunged in an ocean of misery, and he can never expect to become happy. See, in days of yore, Indra once got addicted into vicious habits. The Devas put in place of Indra the Raja Nahusha. Then Indra, terrified, relinquished his post and passed very many years into an unknown and unnoticed state within a lotus. Again, when the time changed, he got his own post back, and the Raja Nahusha fell down on this earth and became transformed into a boa constrictor through the curse of a rishi. The Raja Nahusha wanted the wife of Indra and insulted a Brahman. Therefore, he was under the curse of Maharshi Agastya, transformed into a snake on the earth. Therefore, O Raghava, one ought not to plunge in grief when a danger comes. Neither one should be quite energetic in times of danger, and remain firm. Thus the sages do. O Lord of the world, you are high-minded, omniscient, and omnipotent. Why are you now overwhelmed with grief like an ordinary mortal? Vyasa said. So at the very end there, he recollects Rama's nature as an avatar. Vyasa said, O Raja, thus consoled by Lakshmana, Rama discarded all his heavy sorrows and began to remain with his heart firm and at rest. Thus ends the 29th chapter on the stealing of Sita and the sorrows of Rama, and the third skandha of Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 30. Vyasa said, O Raja, Rama and Lakshmana, discussing thus, then remained silent, when the Rishi Narada appeared there from the sky above, singing the Ratantara Sama Veda hymns in tune and musical gamut with his renowned lute. Or his veena is technically the instrument. It is like a lute. Ramachandra, of indomitable prowess, on beholding him, rose up from his seat and gave him quickly an excellent seat and offerings of water for washing his feet. Then he worshipped the Muni and stood with folded hands. When the Muni ordered him, he took his seat close by Narada. On Ramachandra taking his seat there with Lakshmana with a grievous heart, Narada asked him in a sweet tone, O descendant of Raghu, why are you being afflicted with sorrows like an ordinary mortal? I know that the evil-minded Ravana has stolen Sita Devi. I heard while in the heavens that Ravana, the descendant of Pulastya, stole away Janaki out of fascination. He could not know that this would be the cause of his death. O descendant of the family of Kakutsta, it is for the purpose of killing Ravana that your birth has taken place, and for that purpose Janaki has been stolen now. O Raghava, the Devi Janaki in her previous birth was the daughter of a Muni and practiced asceticism. While engaged in her austerities in her holy hermitage, Ravana came and, looking at her, prayed that beautiful woman to become his wife. Hearing this, she gave a good reproach to Ravana when he perforce caught hold of her hair. That ascetic woman got very angry, and considering her body polluted by the devil's contact, resolved to put an end to her life and cursed Ravana, saying, O villain, I will be born on the surface of the earth, not from any womb, but simply for your destruction and ruin. Thus saying, she parted with her life. O tormentor of the foes, Ravana, the Raja of the Rakshasas, mistook a garland for an extremely poisonous serpent, or rather vice versa, mistook an extremely poisonous serpent for a garland, and has stolen away Sita Devi, the Ansha Avatara of Lakshmi, in order to root out his race. O Kakutsta, when the Devas prayed for the destruction of that wicked, insolent Ravana, difficult to be subdued, you were born on this earth in the family of Aja, as a partial incarnation of Hari, beyond birth, old age, and death. O mighty armed one, have patience. Sita Devi is meditating on you day and night. Indra himself, the Raja of the Devas, sends the nectar and the heavenly cow's milk in a pot to her daily, and she subsists on that alone. O Lord, on drinking the heavenly cow's milk, the lotus-eyed Sita Devi is living without any hunger or thirst. I used to see her daily. O descendant of Raghu, I am now telling you how that Ravana can be killed. Perform in this very month of Ashvina the vow with devotion, fasting for 9 nights, the 9 nights of Navaratri. Perform the worship of the Bhagavati and repeating the mantra silently, and performing the Homa ceremony, observing all the rules. One will certainly fulfill all one's desires. O best in the race of Raghu, you should offer the yajna before the goddess of a sacred, offer the sacrifice before her of a sacred and unblameable animal. So perform an animal sacrifice. Perform japam and homa ceremony equivalent to 1/10 of japam. If you do all this, you will certainly be able to release Sita. In days of yore, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma and the Devas in the heavens all performed this worship of the goddess. Therefore, O Raghava, every person desiring happiness, especially those that have fallen under great difficulties, ought to do this auspicious ceremony without the least hesitation. O Kakutsta, Vishvamitra, Bhrigu, Vashishta, and Kashyapa, all of them did this worship before. When someone stole away the wife of Brahaspati, the guru of the Devas, he too, by the force of this worship. I see. It was a typo as the word some. When Soma, since that's who it was, when Soma stole away the wife of Brahaspati, the guru of the Devas, he too, by the force of this worship, got his wife back. Therefore, O Raja, dost thou also celebrate the puja for the destruction of Ravana. O high-minded one, this vow was practiced before by Indra for the destruction of Rutra, by Shiva for killing the Tripurasuras, by Narayana for the killing of the demons Madhu and Kaitava. So you also should firmly resolve to perform duly this vratam with your whole heart. Rama replied, O ocean of knowledge, who is that Devi? What is her influence? Whence has she sprung? What is her name? And how is that vrata to be duly observed? Kindly describe all these to me in detail. Narada answered, Listen, O Raghava, that goddess is eternal and ever-constant Parashakti. If you worship her, all your difficulties will be removed and all your desires will be fulfilled. She is the source of Brahma, Vishnu, and others, and of all these living beings. Without her Shakti, nobody would be able even to move their limbs. That supreme auspicious goddess is the preserving energy of Vishnu, is the creative power of Brahma, and is the destroying force of Shiva, since she is the Shakti that preserves, she is the Shakti that creates, she is the Shakti that destroys. All energy and all power is her. Whatever there exists in this infinite universe, whether temporal or eternal, she is the underlying force, the Shakti of all. How then can she have an origin? Her origin is not Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha, Surya, Indra, or other devas, not this earth, nor this upholder of the earth. She is devoid of any gunas, the giver of salvation of all, the full Prakriti. In the time of the final dissolution of this universe, she lives with the Supreme Purusha. She is also Saguna, full of qualities, and is the creatrix of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha, and has empowered them in every way to create the three lokas. She is the supreme knowledge existing before the Vedas, and the originator of the Vedas. The individual souls, knowing her nature, become able to free themselves from the bondages of the world. She is known by endless names. Brahma and the other devas might choose to call her according to their actions and qualities. I am unable to describe all those names. O descendant in the race of Raghu, her endless names are formed by the various combinations of the various vowels and consonants, from the letter A to the letter Ksha. In other words, all letters. Rama said, O best of the Munis, describe briefly all the rules and regulations as to how that vrata and worship are to be performed. With my heart full of devotion and faith, I will worship the goddess today. Narada said, O Raghava, on a level plot of ground, prepare an altar. Place the goddess there, meaning, of course, a representation of the goddess, a murti, or as we heard, it doesn't have to be an anthropomorphic murti, but it can be a kumbha, a sacred vessel. And fast for 9 days. O Raja, I will be your priest, and I will with great energy carry out this yajna to fulfill the work of the gods. Vyasa said, then the powerful Bhagavan Hari, hearing all from the Muni, believed this to be true, and on the approach of the month of Ashvina prepared the altar on the top of a hill, and placed the auspicious goddess, the Jagadamba, and observing all the rules, performed the vrata and worshipped the goddess. Fasting for 9 days, Rama celebrated the vrata and duly offered yajnas, performed the worship and homa ceremonies. When on the grand night of the 8th lunar day, the Mahashtami night, the two brothers completed the vow as told by Narada. The supreme Bhagavati was pleased with the worship and appeared before them. Mounted on, so it didn't even take the full thing. They didn't even have to complete the Navaratri vow. She appeared before them on day 8. She appeared before them mounted on a lion, and remaining there on the mountaintop, addressed Rama and Lakshmana in a sweet yet grave tone, like the rumbling of a rain cloud, thus: Rama, I am satisfied with your worship. Ask from me what you desire. Rama, you are sent by the gods for the destruction of Ravana, and are born as a part in incarnation of Narayana, in the pure and stainless family of Manu. It is you that in ancient times incarnated as a fish for serving the purpose of the Devas and preserved the Vedas by killing the terrible Rakshasas for the welfare of the universe. It is you that incarnated as a turtle and held aloft the Mandara mountain, churned the ocean and nourished the Devas. O Rama, it is you that incarnated in days of yore as a boar and held aloft on your teeth or on your tusks this earth. It is you that assumed the form of a man-lion, Narasingha, and preserved Prahlada by tearing asunder the body of Hiranyakashipu by your sharp claws. O descendant of Raghu, it is you that assumed in ancient times the form of a dwarf and served the purpose of the Devas by deceitfully cheating Bali as the younger brother of Indra, as in Vamana Avatara was the younger brother of Indra, not Bali. O son of Kausalya, you incarnated as the son of Jamadagni in the Brahmin family, extirpated the line of Kshatriya kings and gave over this whole earth to Bhagavan Kashyapa Rishi. So you are now born as the son of Dasharatha and the stainless race of Kakutstha at the request of the Devas, harassed by Ravana. These powerful Vanaras, born as incarnations of Devas, all endowed with great power by me, will help you. Your younger brother Lakshmana is the incarnation of Sheshanaga. This indomitable man will undoubtedly kill Indrajit, the son of Ravana. You will kill Ravana. Then you will worship me with great devotion in the vernal season, and then enjoy your kingdom according to your liking. O best of the Raghus, for full 11,000 years you will reign on this earth, and after that re-enter your heavenly abode. Vyasa said, O Raja, Thus saying, the Devi disappeared. Ramachandra became very glad, and completing that most auspicious ceremony, performed the Vijaya Puja on the 10th day, on the Vijaya Dashami Puja, and gave lots of presents to Narada and made him go towards the ocean. O Raja, thus stimulated by the Parashakti, the highest goddess, brought front to front, Ramachandra, in other words, brought seen face to face. Ramachandra, the husband of Kamala, Kamala being a name of Lakshmi or Sita, went to the shores of the ocean, accompanied by Lakshmana and the Vanaras. Then he erected the bridge across the ocean and killed Ravana, the enemy of the Devas. His unparalleled fame spread everywhere throughout the three lokas. He who hears with devotion this excellent account of the Devi will get the highest happiness in this world, and in the end will get the final moksha. There is no doubt in this. O Raja, there are extant many other Puranas, but none is equal to this Srimad Devi Bhagavatam. Know this is my firm belief. Here ends the 30th chapter on the narration of the Navaratri ceremony by Narada and the performance of the Navaratri worship by Ramachandra, and the third Adhyaya in Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. And here ends the third skandha. I do sometimes pause on the break between skandhas. This was a little bit of a short session, but I think it might be a good stopping point at the completion of skandha number 3, and we can start in with skandha 4 next time, and with a little bit of a longer one.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Yes, thank you all for coming.
I had a couple of reflections that I noted down that it would just be helpful. I feel if I share them, I might remember. It'd be nice to hear if anyone has any comments. Sure. One was that even Shriram had to be reminded who he is, right? I found that really powerful. And then the other, and I mean, I don't actually know whether avatars are supposed to have memory of the true, but just on a symbolic level, I did find that really powerful. And then also when he was told that your purpose here is to kill Ravan, and for that Sita has to be abducted, like she has to suffer. So I found that really powerful as well, that almost applying it to our own lives, that sometimes, you know, to fulfill one person's purpose, other people associated with them may have to go through things. Yeah, I found that very, very powerful. Thank you, and I appreciate if anyone has any comments or reflections.
Yeah, well, it is a thing. It varies between different avatars, whether or on what level they understand what they are. Rama, the purpose of the Rama avatar in part was that Ravana had a boon from Brahma that no divine being could harm him. That's how he was able to harass the devas. And so that was it put a restriction on the avatar that it had to essentially count as actually human. And so yes, it was an avatar, but he had to become human enough that he had to experience life like a human. He had to suffer like a human and experience ignorance like a human. He had to be truly human in nature, because the boon granted to Ravana was that only such a being could harm him.
Right.
So more than some avatars, Rama, there was a part of Rama that knew in certain quiet moments, but by nature of his purpose, he couldn't stay in that awareness all the time. He had to go through the Leela and the Maya of life as a man.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know that. Beautiful.
There is also something about regarding the suffering of Sita, that the translator actually inserted a little note that I skipped over because it wasn't part of the text. But I can explain it since you have brought it up here, and it will show up later in the much later in the Devi Bhagavatam. There's another, it goes into more detail of Sita. And this appears in this scripture and in many other scriptures as well, various other Puranas, and famously in the Ramacharitamanasa of Tulsidasa, a great later stage of medieval times, not ancient, that it was not actually Sita who was abducted by Ravana. The Sita, so the abduction had to happen to justify the killing of Ravana and bring about the karma that destroyed him. But Sita did not have to suffer, and actually she didn't. Secretly, shortly before her abduction, a illusionary double of Sita called Maya Sita or Chaya Sita, Shadow Sita, was created, and they were switched by Agni Deva. The real Sita was never abducted by Ravana. She was taken by Agni Deva into his loka, and she hid for several months in Agni Loka, while an illusory double of Sita was taken to Lanka by Ravana and enacted the entire Leela of being the hostage and going through it, which, it's just as much negative karma for Ravana. He thinks he's abducting and tormenting the real Sita. It's just as bad of what he's doing. But according to these scriptures, the real Sita never actually had to undergo that suffering.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's different versions on this. That does not appear in Valmiki Ramayana,
Right.
but it does appear in Ramacharitamanasa and in many of the Puranas.
Right.
And the translator, the Swami who translated this particular Purana, had included that in a very brief little footnote mention, which I skipped over since it wasn't part of the translation.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Thank you, Devala. Thank you, Devika. Blessings.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
Jai Ma.
Emma.
Jai Ma.